thing I found as a competitor is that when you step on stage, it's about you, but or even on like platform, like for powerlifting or even comp jiu-jitsu, it's about you, but there's so many people watching.
Wow.
There was like my last powerlifting comp, right?
Wait, before you,
Yeah.
before we get into that, yeah, I'm keen to dabble in your powerlifting, also the bodybuilding.
Yeah.
I feel like, right now it's kind of a go. I feel like we've got a good flow just starting.
Yeah.
Before we even get into your whole journey and like in general, bro, the only first question I kind of want to ask is, who was Moses?
Ooh. Well, that's a hard question, bro, but I feel like I'm still finding myself right now. I feel like I'm defined by what I do. And I feel like Moses right now is just enjoying life. Trying to get stronger spiritually, mentally. And I'm just figuring it out that as I go. Like I'm 24, bro. Like I think I got a long way to go to find my path. But right now, just kicking side quests, trying to get better with my faith in God and trying to be a good dad and partner, which is my number one priority. Or I'd say number two, because number one is trying to get closer to God.
100%.
But even that is so hard, bro. Like it's very hard, bro.
Trials and tribulations.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. But I think me as a person, just an athletic competitor who likes to kick ass and have some fun.
Oh yeah, bro, that's the best answer.
Yeah.
I love that answer. Kick ass and have fun.
Yeah, bro.
It's all about the journey.
All about the journey, bro. All about the journey. Life is so short. It's insane what type of things go on, and then just make you realize different type of things. It's an awesome journey to be on. Like, God bless, bro.
Like, so we kind of get an idea on, who Moses is. I feel like your personality in general, both the physical aspect and the creative aspect plays a big part in who you are. How would you kind of describe who you are today compared to who you are before? Who you were, sorry.
I would say
who you were before.
I would say I am who I am because of who I was before. I think right now, at this point in my life, I'm just kind of a blend of everything that's happened in my life. That's what I mean by still figuring it out, because a lot of things have happened and I'm still trying to navigate my way around it. But I mean, I've achieved a few things along the way, and that is awesome. And yeah, I mean, I just cannot complain. I love what I do, and I hope to keep doing it for the rest of my life.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And in terms of your fitness journey in general, how has that just, been a part of your life in terms of like how it changed you within fitness itself?
I think it's been a very pivotal role fitness has played in my life. It's made me realize a lot of things, just because of the effect that the fitness journey had on me. It kind of helped me flip my life upside down. Because before, who I was before was, to put it shortly, like simply, I was just a party animal. I dropped out of high school, and like you drop out of high school, like I was a rugby player, and the first thing you want to do is party. And when you do, and you get a little taste of it, if you're someone like me, you just keep going, bro. Like, I'll be honest, bro. Like, I want to say 2017 to 2019. I actually don't remember much. Like, it's just a blur.
Wow.
It's literally just a blur. I get my weekends confused with weekdays, and just different days confused with each other. Because the whole time, I don't think for that 2 years, I was sober.
Wow.
Yeah. Or even a little bit longer. So I actually moved to New Zealand from Australia, because my parents had just seen enough.
Yeah.
So they sent me here to help out with their business, with my sister. And then the craziest thing is that when I moved here, I had so many objections. I mean, before I moved here, I had so many objections. But when I got here, I actually accepted everything, like who I actually was at that time. Like, just a pure loser.
Wow.
I accepted that I was a loser and I needed to change. And my whole journey started at Flex Monaco.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
because we had lived across the road, and yeah, I got a membership there, and I would do what like any insecure person who just joined the gym did. I'd train at like 1 or 2 a.m. I'd listen to motivational speeches all the time. I got into like I started dabbling in diet, like different types of diets. And for the most part, I think even though I had no real structure and just kind of freeballing it taught me a lot of discipline. Because yeah, I mean, when you don't know anything and you really want something to change, you'll do something about it, bro. Like, and what I did was when I moved here, I got into intermittent fasting, did about like 2 meals a day. But those meals, bro, I still remember it. It was 3 eggs, 2 pieces of bread at 12 o'clock. And then I'd wait it out to go to the gym about like sometimes it would be 8 p.m. or later. But I would try to get back, and then 9:30, which is like I believe the cutoff time or something.
Yeah.
I would have 100 grams of chicken, 100 grams of veg, 100 grams of rice. That was it. So just those 2 meals, and then in like 3 months, I lost like 15 kilos.
Yo, that's a mean drop.
Yeah. So then when I went back to Oz after those 3 months, everyone's like, "Whoa, you lost a lot of weight." But those 3 months, bro, I tell you, they were hell. Like they suck. They suck. Everyone sees like the result, but they sucked, bro. And then as soon as I got back from Australia, fuck, it was just binge eating. Like, it was. I thought I'd go back to square one, but luckily I didn't.
Nice.
Yeah.
And in terms of, you know, how you said that it sucked, and in terms of going through that process where you wanted to cut down that weight, but because like that part sucked, what was the main like motivator or the driver to like stick through? Was it just for own personal health, or what people were saying, or some stuff like that around those areas?
Well, at a point, I didn't care what people were saying because I knew myself. Like, what do you call it? If anything, the biggest like hater was myself, to myself. So no matter what anyone said, it couldn't be worse than what I thought of myself. So that was the biggest motivator. I knew that coming out of high school, I was like a really good rugby player. Like not like really good, but the only thing that made me good at rugby was that I was willing to work kind of more than anyone. Because I had started rugby real late in my life, and it was the first time that I was decent at something. So then I just hammered that, and I went from being like a fat kid, and I started at prop, and then by 2016 maybe, I was a winger.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then got into a drunk fight at the end of that, and then I broke my hand, and then it just kind of spiraled down from there because I couldn't play for a year. Yeah, so 2017 I think I broke my hand, and I had nothing to do but party.
Wow. And that was that whole, like, during those 2 years, sorry,
Yeah.
2 years that you were just going hundies, partying, which became a blur.
Yeah, massive blur.
So then after that, you know, all the partying transitioned to New Zealand, stayed here since then, kept on going back a bit, would you say?
Yeah, I would go back and forth just because the rest of my siblings are there.
Okay.
Sorry, just burped there. No, because the rest of my family lived there. Obviously, the rest of my friends lived there. So I was going back and forth, but it wasn't until 2021 I went back for a semester break because I ended up actually putting myself back together so well that I was in uni.
Yeah.
So I went from like high school dropout, like didn't have anything going for me, got into this fitness journey. This fitness journey got me into uni because I told them my sob story about partying and figuring it out. And at that time, I had just competed in my first bodybuilding competition. Wrote them a letter, said, "Hey, this is my story." They accepted me. So I went to AUT to study sport science. The degrees, I believe, called sport and rec. But I wanted to major in sports science. But I went to Oz for a holiday during the semester of 2021, I believe. And then freaking second wave of COVID hits.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, bro. And I got stuck there for about like 6-ish months. By the
Wow.
time the border opened, I was like, bro, I already have a job. Like I've already set up here. There was no point of me coming back to New Zealand because I had everything set up. I started progressing even better in bodybuilding. I had more doors open for me now that I was in Australia. But then, yeah, I ended up moving back a year later.
So, good thing that you mentioned bodybuilding because it's kind of what I want to dabble into first.
Yeah.
So we're taking it back to bodybuilding itself. Like,
Yeah.
what got you into bodybuilding in general?
Actually, funny story, Oliver's, John got me into it. But unintentionally.
Yeah.
Because what had happened is that, so this is my journey is so wonky, eh? Like it's, I wanted to have a fight.
Yeah.
And I had been going to Oliver's for a little bit because I started, within that 3 months, the first time I hit the fitness journey, I started like halfway through. And Oliver's is what kept my weight down when I got back from Australia and I was just binge eating everything. And I was just looking for a new goal and I needed one. So I asked John for a fight.
Yeah.
And I asked him, how can I get down to at least cruiserweight? Like, cause I'm not fighting super heavyweight against someone who might be 7 foot. So John referred me to one of his mates. And that guy started coaching me, helping me lose a bit of weight. And then come to find out he dabbled in bodybuilding himself and he was looking to put together a competitive team for bodybuilding. So yeah, that guy asked me, hey bro, like you've got some like mean legs and arms. What do you reckon about training up bodybuilding? And it took me about 5 minutes to make the decision because in my head I was like, do I want to do boxing where there's high risk and the reward's really low? Or do I want to do bodybuilding where I might not win, but I'll have abs by the end of it? That was literally I just wanted abs at that point because I had already trimmed down. I looked pretty fit, but I just wanted abs. So that was history, bro. That was literally what took me to bodybuilding for that period of time. So if it wasn't for John referring me, bro, I would have never actually gotten started in bodybuilding because that was something I thought I could have never done.
Oh, yeah. Fuck.
So it just took someone noticing.
Yeah.
And then it turns out I just excelled in it really well. Everything clicked. I wanted it really bad. And it just kind of came like second nature because I had already built this kind of foundation of discipline, even though I didn't know what I was doing. So when I got a plan that I did know what I was doing, it was so easy to apply that discipline and carry it over. But yeah, it just spiraled from there, the bodybuilding journey. And yeah, like it became something I never thought I would be able to do. Like I would have never pictured, like if you told me in 2019 that I looked the way I did, 2021, 2020, 2021, and then onwards, I would fucking call you crazy, bro. Like I would tell you you're crazy. Because it was one of those things where like, I thought I could get to a certain point.
Yeah.
And my expectations was way too low.
Wow.
Because I just blew way past that. Yeah, like I didn't even think, like I was really close to going, like I reckon I could have gone pro.
Yeah, for sure.
But like it's just something I don't want anymore. At least not yet. But being even able to have the potential to go pro would have just been like, that was an idea that never even crossed my mind until it happened. So that's why I like completing these side quests, bro.
Yeah,
you just never know.
You just never know.
You just never know, bro. So my experience in bodybuilding taught me that like I'm only limited to the standards I set.
Yeah, okay.
And if you don't have a standard, you don't know. Like, and that's the fun of it. Like that's why I got it back into martial art, because I just don't know. Like it's something cool to explore. Yeah.
And just with the bodybuilding itself, because definitely transitioning to martial arts became like a physical taxing sport, and with bodybuilding, it has its own type of fatigue. As you mentioned, also you were pursuing, you had the opportunity to become pro in bodybuilding. In terms of that question alone, or that kind of what's been mentioned, what do you think at that time was the main reason why you didn't go for it, or why you didn't pursue it? Was it just the time and place thing, or positioning yourself in the right area, or was it just like a?
I think it was a mixture of all of that. Timing, but I was 6 weeks out of attempting to go for my pro card. Like that's how close I was to trying to go, and I felt really bad that I pulled out, because there was actually people who had taken days off to come watch that show.
Wow.
But I think the price just became too much, and I think a lot of people have to recognize that some things just cost a bit too much, like not money wise, mental wise, spiritual wise. Like I just remember on prep, I just did not feel good. Like I just did not feel good. I was lethargic, tired, which all comes with the game, but it was to a different extent, bro. Like I had like different health problems pop up. Like one of the effects of one of the drugs I was taking, bro, I was having night terrors pretty much every night.
Wow.
And like I was sweating, like the bed was just nasty just because the amount I used to sweat. And you're just mentally just not all right.
Yeah.
Like I understand why people who don't check themselves can get really out of control on the source. Because if you're not checking yourself, bro, like you're gonna spiral. You're gonna spiral hard, bro. There's heaps of times that I was checking myself, like, why am I thinking that? Or, why am I like this? Like I remember, this is so bad, bro. I remember like 8 weeks out, like 2 weeks before I pulled out, I remember walking into a gym. I just remember, why isn't anyone looking at me? I'm the biggest here. Like that, and then bro, like 2 minutes later, I was like, that is an insane thought.
Yeah.
Why would I ever need people to want to, like, why would I ever want people to look at me when I walk into a gym? Like, I'm there to do my own thing. Like, why did I need to think that? So I think it's important, like, when competitors get a bit out of hand to check themselves.
Yeah.
Because you really do. And if you don't, like, imagine if I didn't and I just kept thinking like that. I am the biggest in this room. You're all lower than me.
Wow.
Whereas, like, that you can see kind of the path that leads down. Whereas when you check yourself, you'll be like, okay, that's not me, that's the gear. Or that's not me, that's my intrusive thoughts. So you have to really be able to check yourself.
Because it also brings you to a point, and when you're checking yourself, to really just recognize what these thought processes are going to create in terms of like a type of habit in your life.
Yeah, bro.
Sometimes, they say the ego is good, which in some sense, like I still have this theory where depending on what type of ego you present is good.
Yeah.
But it goes to an extent, and the things that you say out, the way you kind of say it as well has a big impact on your life.
I'm so sorry. My partner's calling.
Yeah, no, Marcy, if you need an answer, you can go for it.
Hello. Yeah, I'm mid filming. It's a cutter. You're gonna go home? Okay. No, it's all right. Yeah. We just started filming not long ago. Okay. All right, bye. Bye. My bad.
Can I leave that in?
No. I don't want to see those voice changes on. Sorry about that.
No.
But, yeah, it's. Sorry, what was the question?
There was no question. just talking off it. And I was like, talking in the sense of like, how you had talked about the, when you walked in the gym, like, why is no one, looking at me?
Yeah.
Like, that kind of like thought process, and then you had to, your intrusive thoughts kind of took the best of you during that time.
Yeah.
So I was just like lining those factors, and just like in terms of that type of like, because in a way I call that like an an intrusive thought, the way you kind of think, and if you were to say it, like say it out and you said it all that time, how you mentioned, I consider that ego, but that's just like how I see it. But like, in some sense, egos is like good.
Yeah.
Like, you know, ego's healthy, and that's kind of where I was lining up with that.
Yeah.
Like leaning on to kind of what I wanted to ask about is just an ego general, because like the way I perceive it will probably be different to how you perceive it. Like in terms of your intrusive thoughts, or in terms of the way that you had these little tribulations or trials basically within your life. With ego, is it something that kind of creates, what's the word? Is it something within you that motivates you, or is it something that basically lets you know as an indicator, okay, like where I'm at now, how I'm thinking, like my head is too big. Let me humble myself and, you know, focus on what actually the main priority is. Out of the two, like which one do you think, in terms of the way your own mentality goes through, what way does it lead, if that kind of makes sense?
I think now, I would say ego right now for me, it's been humbled many times, and that's part of the journey. Like when you first get into things, you could think you're the next Phil Heath, you could think you're the next Ronnie Coleman, but once you really dip outside and then you look at the competition and you realize how many levels there are between you and that guy, it really humbles you down. And you've got two choices. You either still live like that, and maybe it'll get you there, or the second choice, which is the choice I make now, is being able to recognize how many levels there are. Yeah. What do I have to do to get to that level? Wow. What type of sacrifices do I have to make to get to that level? Because I think ego will block you from seeing that. You know, it just says, nah, I can do that. Whereas being able to, like, let's say I was like, if I got into the sport saying I was the next Gordon Ryan, right? But when I look at it and see how many levels there are, I can either look at it and say, there's so many things that I have to do, and if I can get it done, then maybe I'll be there. Or you could go and say, nah, I'll still beat him, but it'll just take me time. But you don't know how much time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But I reckon that ego is a bit more toxic, because the thing is that, let's say you did look at it like that, right? 2 years go by, you've made no progress. What are you gonna do then?
That's actually true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't look at it 2 years, you made no progress. What would you think?
Yeah. Yeah. From my experience, right, my ego stopped me from. I would honestly say it stopped me from progressing in my bench, which is what got me into powerlifting.
Oh, yep.
Because I in my head the whole time, right? I was, and I started on 50 kilo bench. Like I was piss weak. Like there at that point, there was girls stronger than me. So in my head, like 200 was like, it's a dream. So when I hit it, I was like, 240's around the corner.
Whoa.
I haven't even broken 210. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because after a while of niggles and injuries, it made me humble myself and I really truly had to see where I was, kind of in the mix of like the best benches in the country, and it made me have to like take a real look at myself, because every time I get in the bench session, that's easy, and then 2 years gone by, I haven't made progress. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and now I could say that I have this to improve if I really wanted that.
Yeah.
But at the time, and I wish I would have seen it, like, I was just like, I'm 200 and that's the record.
Yeah.
How, like, no one's going to beat me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I used to see, like, it was really encouraging when I hit 200, and I used to see a lot of the top powerlifters around my age or just a bit older hitting less weights. But now, bro, after 2-3 years, a lot of them are stronger than me. A lot of them already gone past me.
Yeah.
And that's something you got to recognize and have to take a step back and be like, okay, well, I obviously had a mad ego about it. So yeah, I think I wouldn't say ego's bad, because I would say you have to be humbled in order to grow. Because if you don't get humbled, you will always think you're the best. But if you even if you don't, even if you do get humbled and you don't recognize the best, then like you're just stuck, bro. You're really just stuck. So I think it's an important lesson to at least have an ego and get it humbled.
Wow.
Because that's the only way you're gonna grow.
100%.
Yeah.
I believe that heaps. When you mention it like that in terms of being humbled, I'm trying to. There's that thing. You know Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
He was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he mentioned about being a monster, and you have to be a monster. You have to do this, but learn how to tame it.
Yeah.
And then in terms of what you mentioned with ego as well, being specifically just have that ego, but humble yourself in that sense.
Yeah.
Because would you say your transition into powerlifting also had that effect, or no? Was it during that process?
It was during
that process.
Yeah. So, like I said, it's just a stack of things that happened, and you just adapt along the way. I think being humbled is part of taming that beast, because if you let that beast just run around, you're gonna be like you're gonna run into a lot of problems. Whereas if you get someone like a coach or a trainer or a mentor to humble that down, show you the levels that you need to go, not only is that beast going to grow, but it's also going to learn when and when not to be in play. And I think that's a very important lesson, especially transitioning to martial art. Like, I might be decent, but like there's so many levels between me and someone like Thomas. There's so many levels, like, you know what I mean? And then between him and Gordon Ryan, there's even more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like being able to step back and recognize those levels require you to be humbled.
Wow. I like that when you mentioned stepping back, because I see that point. Because like I like talking about that in the sense of like me as well. Like I always like to step back and like look from things from the outside perspective, whether it's to either grow or to just understand why certain people have this type of mentality.
Yeah,
and I kind of like teed down to the point. For me, it's like all to do with the growth from within. Yeah, where it's if you're wanting to grow within yourself, you have to step back out. Like there's no point in trying to push like a certain boundary, and go to the top while stepping on other people, because I've noticed, you do sometimes. Well, I've seen a lot of people who have stories where they've stepped on a lot of people in order to get to the top. They've made it to the top, but they're still unhappy. Yeah. So it's just a whole big thing in terms of like, what can, like I do to, make sure that does not happen, or just like recognize these certain key points and key values.
I think what's important is like you said, bro, is having fun along the way.
Yeah.
Because if you have fun along the way, it doesn't matter if you made it to the top.
Yep.
You're usually happy with what you got. Because right now, like even my first jiu-jitsu comp that just had passed, I went in there like I mentally prepared to lose. But my biggest thing was that I wanted to learn. I didn't care if I lost. I just cared that I wanted to take something away. Wow. So being able to secure a silver was insane. Yeah. And then like even when I got the silver, bro, I was in the gym. Like comp was on Saturday. I was back in gym on Monday, doing weights in the morning, going to jits, because I was so eager to put what I had learned into practice. Wow, it's so fun. Like it's, I think being able to enjoy what you're learning plays a massive factor. It doesn't, like, it makes me not want to step over people and earn it my own way.
Love that.
Yeah, bro.
I love that answer.
Yeah.
But since we're talking about the topic of jits, man, like one thing I want to know is like what got you into like at least just, pursuing that or like wanting to start that journey.
I think honestly the biggest reason is my son. You know, I grew up and I didn't learn self-defense. And I think it would have helped a lot with my confidence. Not even just to kind of navigate school. I think I just would have been a more confident person if I had learned martial arts growing up. Because if you notice a lot of martial artists speak, they're usually the last person to be the aggressor. They always speak with their words first, because martial artists always know what risks come with physical fights, pretty much. So that's one thing I really admire about martial artists, is that although they know how to use these, everyone resorts to using this first.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, which I think is really, really cool. I also enjoy watching it. I love watching it. It's awesome.
People just getting their bash,
yeah,
getting their head bashed in.
Or even just the technique, bro. Like, imagine, like, being able to read someone and pick them apart is just so interesting.
Like the game of chess we were talking about one time before.
I just learned chess.
Bro, I've downloaded the app when we were talking about it, and I still haven't opened it yet.
It's all right, bro. I'll send you the invite because I want to play, bro. I have no one to play with.
But I need to really learn that game, though.
Bro, it's mean. Like, yeah, I think the last 3 days, what was it, 4 days? I learned to play chess in like an hour, and then I'll be honest, from when I started to now, I don't think I've ever won a game.
Oh, wow.
Like, I've won online, and I still haven't won a game.
Still in the learning process, though, eh?
Yeah. But that's fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, like, it's funny. I'll lose every game, but in the chat, I'll talk a lot of smack, and then I'll lose, and then I'll go, "Oh, GG's, bro."
Sometimes it's like a low-key game master.
Yeah, bro. But you come away thinking
Grandmaster chess.
You come away from that, and then you go like, maybe I shouldn't have moved that in there. Maybe I could have done that better. Maybe I could have done this better. And it just improves your game. Like, I said I haven't lost, but in the last 4 days, it's taken me a lot longer to lose.
All about perspective.
Yeah, bro. So I was getting checkmated like 2 moves when I first started, like a couple days ago. And now it'll take me about a 20-minute game to get checkmated. Like, and that's still in the beginner's ranks, but like, that's improvement.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? I'm still losing, but I'm taking longer to lose because it's harder to win against me.
Well, you're never losing if every lesson that you go through or every game you go through is a lesson learned. So
Exactly, bro.
yeah,
Exactly.
You're never losing because there's always value gained.
Exactly. And it's not like there's not like $1 million on the line. You're just learning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, it's fun, bro. It's like being able to choose situations that force you to step back and then pick apart what you could and couldn't have done better. It usually carries over into different things of life. Even though it's a simple game, I won't say it's simple, but even though it's just a game, it carries over to like jits or just like life in general. Like you maybe you made the wrong move, but you will never know until you review that game. You know,
And then that's kind of where you pick apart on something like, for example, your habits that you could have changed. As you mentioned earlier, something, I could have did this better, could have did that better. Just with, that whole technical aspect, pursuing, certain things in life in general, but also, the martial arts game compared to powerlifting, which is, brute strength. Is there a major difference in terms of mindset between the two?
Yeah. I would say powerlifting is like very misinterpreted.
Yeah.
There's a lot of technical side to it. Because when you lock in for a prep, right, like your prep has to start like 20 weeks prior. Otherwise, if you only get about 6 weeks, you just have to program a peak. And a peak, like how do I explain it? It's pretty much for like, let's say you have a 20-week prep.
Yep.
Max is 250 on a deadlift, right? Through that 20 weeks, you have to take into account things like fatigue. You have to take into account what, like, let's say I was a coach, right? That client's training regime, like what sessions can they make? 3 or 4 sessions a week, because most powerlifters are just working normal people. Same with martial arts. But the difference between martial arts and powerlifting is that powerlifting, you have to be a lot more technical with your fatigue levels. Just because we're fighting, you could go all day. With powerlifting, if you muck something up one day, it might muck up your session tomorrow, and it might muck up the rest of the weeks. So, like the whole prep, you pretty much have to prime your body, and then like peak it to a point that you're gonna lift more weight on that day than what you can regularly lift. Because anyone who's done a competition knows that the weight that they put on the platform, they probably can't go in the gym and hit that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So you really have to be smart, and you have to get a coach that's smart about the programming and knows your body. And then even with the planning, the whole time your technique has to be 100% on point, pretty much. I mean, I don't know about you, but if you move a little bit slightly off, slightly off with 300 kilos in your back, you might fuck something up for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to, you have to have a coach that's able to realize that, hey, when you squat down, you lean a little bit this way, or you could go a bit deeper, or like you could be a bit more stable going down. There's so many problems that different people have, and that coach has to cater to it. But I think
that's what you mentioned with the 20 weeks thing, compared to
But I think combat could adopt a lot of that. We call it periodization. So being able to periodize a peak towards like if your base level's here, you need to be up here by comp day. And then every session has a specific goal. Whether it's trying to, like, let's say you have like a Monday, you have like a bench day, like a heavy bench day. Friday, you might have a technical bench day. Now that technical bench day is to only fix technique. That's it. Like it might be pushing heavy weight, but it's to fix technique and to teach your body how to manage that technique under a load. So each session has intent.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of the combat athletes I know, they'll go into a gym and get a pump and then just think, oh yeah, that'll help my strength. But there's no real intent. What are you trying to get stronger? What movement are you trying to get better? Where do you see that strength transferring over to? You know, there's those types of questions I think you should ask yourself, and I think that's what could be lacking in martial arts.
Wow.
Because the martial arts mindset, from what I've seen, is just go hundies and train hard. But it's training smart that makes the difference.
Wow.
Yeah. And being able to, I would say the technical side of things, they're similar but different. But I think that they could learn a lot from each other.
Yeah. Because each plays a part in their kind of own.
Yeah. But, you know, they're like really on opposite sides of the spectrum.
Yep.
You need to be really fit for combat. You need to be really strong for powerlifting. Like it's really hard to see the similarities, like I said, unless you really do take a step back.
Yep.
But I would say it's the same in the sense that there has to be a game plan. There has to be intent behind sessions. And then when you get onto competition day or fight day, you can't complain about work that you didn't do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's like kind of just similarities that you see with any competitor. But yeah, with any sport, there's so much that each sport can learn off each other. Because I train now with some of the boys, and they would have never thought like a deadlift would benefit them. But it's like, what do you do when you do a takedown? When you get the underhooks in someone and you need to swing them? You know what I mean? That's when strength comes into play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you're doing 100 reps of that, you're probably not going to get stronger from that. You probably get more durable,
Yeah.
but you're probably not going to get stronger from it. You know
Wow.
what I mean? So there's different things in each sport that each sport could adopt. I would say powerlifters need a bit more cardio, because when I was powerlifting, I was just force feeding, bro. I would get off a set of bench and be like, it's crazy, bro. Like, I just think they're both just as technical as each other.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't think that. Like, a lot of people just think it's brute strength, but it's like, it's more than that, you know? Being able to push yourself through those workouts, it's really hard because they drag.
Wow.
They really do drag, bro.
Yeah.
Like, at one point when I was competing, I had just had my kid, and like comp was like 4 weeks away. And even just in those 4 weeks, I just felt like shit dad because I wasn't around much. Because my workouts took like 3-4 hours. And that came down to me not being fit because I couldn't recover after my sets. I do a set of deadlifts, half puff. Right when I'm back to get into it, 8 minutes have gone by. Like,
Wow.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And that set will only take about 1 minute, but it'll take you about like 8 to 10 minutes to recover. So if you're doing 4 sets of that, that's already 40 minutes gone. And then you have to get onto your other workout, like your accessory workout. So it's draining in a different way.
Yeah.
Whereas like jits and like combat, I'll be like holding on for dear life, like, but it's fun.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you're moving fast, and then the time goes quick, unless you're like really dying.
Yeah, yeah.
But then with powerlifting, it's so slow. And the crazy thing is, like, let's say you have like a 160 bench, like for four sets that day, right? If you go in and ego lift because you're like, oh, 160 feels good, and then go up, you might stuff yourself up for the next couple of weeks.
And that's just due to like injuries and stuff like that?
Fatigue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, fatigue. Because the thing is, like, you're playing with a different energy system. Which is obviously a phosphocreatine system. It's a really easy system to tire out.
Yeah.
Right. Like some people, like I know guys that are like, they'd max out right before a comp, and then they can't hit it that comp week.
Wow.
But and when I say right before, I'm talking about a couple days.
Yeah.
You're supposed to max out like a week-ish prior, and then
just to give your body recovery. Yeah.
Yeah, and then recover it. Because the point is, you're supposed to drive your body to maximal fatigue. Then you let it rest so that the adaptation could be possibly greater by the time you step onto platform. But if you don't allow yourself to rest and get that adaptation, your baseline strength might be a bit lower. So it really comes down to your preparation, how you do on that day in powerlifting. If your preparation's not there, you're probably not going to be like a threat.
Yeah, okay. So because everyone has to kind of prepare differently.
Yeah. Like me, they didn't focus on my bench much because my bench was there. So we had to really focus on the deadlifts and squats.
Yep.
And I hate squats.
Wow.
With a passion.
Yep. I'm the same.
Yeah. Hate it, bro. Hate it.
I wanna move into my next question. Just give me a second. TEDx, you're meant to switch the camera. I'm cutting that out though. I'm cutting that out. So you can go between 1 and 2. So if I'm talking, go between 1. You know. Okay. Yeah. Sorry to stop that. I was trying to give you some room if you wanted to, like, when the camera switches. Give you some room to breathe. But the camera's just all up on you for the whole scene. Yeah, bro, you can switch it. Sorry, bro.
You're right, bro.
I think next time I'll just have it here so I can switch it myself. Just wanting to, I just kind of want to in depth, because I know you mentioned your son.
Yep.
You mentioned your son. And you've also, mentioned just family in general. Doing the side quest, but also, having that bodybuilding under your belt, having that powerlifting under your belt, and mentioning that, you felt like a shit dad because you didn't like spend some time with him. Has there, what is it? Like for now, you know, putting all of those together, has there been something like in terms of like what you could have done better? Or is there like, are you happy with all of these actually side quests and everything?
It's that's actually a very good question.
Yeah.
I would say I'm happy. It takes a lot
Yeah.
to want to do these side quests, because like I said before, it's a whole different game when you're trying to be a competitor versus trying to just like
Stay fit.
stay fit.
Yeah.
There are sacrifices that need to be made when you want to achieve something, and it's still a hard decision to make. But having the right people around you, like my awesome partner and my family, yeah, they can carry it a lot. And I think the most important thing is that when you're in competition mode, to put it simply, you just have to be a little bit selfish.
Wow.
Because there's things that you do need to check off.
Yep.
But it's really important to be able to relay that to both your family and your partner, but also that to realize that when you are in competition mode, you're on borrowed time, and that when you're off competition mode, it's important to give that back. Because yeah, a lot of people like to romanticize being a father and being a competitor, when in reality it's super challenging, because I know that doing these things will make me a better person, and have things that my kids could aspire to be, but the bill comes due.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to be, like Khabib said it great, the best. You know, if you want to be family man and go spend time with family, that's all good. Go be best family man. But if you want to be best competitor, you can't be family man. So I'm not trying to be the best.
Yeah.
But I am trying to be able to prove that the sky's the limit wherever you want to go. Because like I said, you know, a lot of people didn't expect me to end up where I am.
Yeah.
Especially during that party phase. You know, kind of transitioning from that to here, you know, like I said, it taught me that the expectations that I had set on myself were a bit low.
Yeah.
But I also think it's important to find out how far you can push those expectations, like for yourself. But I think the most important thing is, and Dave Chappelle said this the most, and it really, really kind of changed my perspective, is that, you know, there has to be a line to draw. And when you cross that line, no matter what it is, you have to walk out. No matter like if you were getting $10 billion to cross that line, you still have to keep yourself in check and like stay true to yourself and not cross that line.
Wow.
So being able to set up boundaries as a competitor is also just as important. But yeah, I know people that do really well setting those boundaries, even if it takes them training at like scary hours or getting their stuff done when no one sees it. You have to work around things. You just got to roll with the punches. If you got to take your kid out and you got to take your partner out, go do it.
Yeah.
After that, you have to, even though it takes time away, you have to be able to look at it and recognize, I need to take this time, otherwise I won't perform at my best and I'm going to beat myself up over it. Because yeah, it's really easy for people to say, my family are my drive and motivation. I do nothing with them. I do, but they do nothing with them. Sorry, because yeah, it's really easy for people to be like, they're my reason for doing what I do and blah 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 blah. But doing what you do comes at a massive cost to them, which is not being able to spend time with them. You know what I mean? So it's awesome to have them and have them back me, but at the end of the day, it's a really hard feeling when you get home, you look at your kid and you want to play around with him, but you got wrestling in half an hour. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, as much as I wish I could bring him with me, I can't. And he's just not at that age yet.
Yeah.
But I know that the thing that I know is, like I said, it's borrowed time.
Yeah.
Because when my kid grows up, it's about like 5 or 6, and he's got hobbies. That's when the spotlight's off me and on him.
Yeah.
So until then, I'm just gonna ride it out and have some fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm just gonna try and max out at everything I do, because I know that with kids come.
Oh, wait, go.
Check. Comes with like driving them to different places, making sure they make the competition, making sure that they're fed, making sure that they go to school. Being able to be that person to take them to everything is kind of what I want to do. Yeah. So yeah, I don't like I said, I don't know where this is leading me.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, just as everything else, the more you do something, the more opportunities that open up. Just like this, bro.
Yeah.
If I never got into martial arts, I wouldn't be able to even be on a podcast, bro. Like, if you told me a couple of years ago someone was interested in my life story, I'd be like, what the hell? Me?
Do you also think that, like, as you mentioned, with where you're going through, you don't know where it leads, but it opens up different opportunities. These pathways that you don't know where they lead, and you kind of have a grasp on where you're wanting to go. Do you think that also plays a part with everyone that's around you as well? In terms of, like, for example, the way I'm explaining it is, for example, how you jumped, let's just say, how you went into martial arts and you didn't know that, you'd be on here. Like, let's say that the people around you hearing, your story, like, for example, your son would probably grow up and be like, wow, like, my dad's achieved a lot, and I didn't hear this side from a story like this. It could not really like force them to change, but give them an outside perspective of being like, wow, like, that's a journey that I could take.
Oh, bro, I hope so. And that's what I mean. Like, when you step on stage or something, and you step on like a platform, like I said before we delve into it.
Yeah.
Not like it's about you, yeah. But one thing that really changed my perspective is that the people that are watching, they're really inspired, bro. I'll give you an example. My last national competition was held at, I think it was called, I forgot what it was called. It was some random gymnasium in Te Awamutu, I think it might have been. And where it was, right, it was kind of where the basketball courts were. So they had set up the bleachers, and there was a gym just like right next to it. They told me to put on a show. So, like, I was like, bro, this is nationals. I'm going to try and take out a few national records. Might as well put on a show. Might as well rile up the crowd and stuff like that. I go through, do my thing, and me and my mate's about to go back to the place we were staying, right? And my mate comes up to me and he goes, bro, you just inspired this little kid. I was like, what do you mean? He was like saying that, because my mate just talks to random people. Yeah. He saw an old man and a kid come from the swimming pools on the other side, because they had heard all the hoopla. And my mate was telling me that every time I jumped on the platform, that kid went wild. And then he went up to ask the old man, like, what? Who are they coming here to support? And they said they were just going to the pools. It was just a Saturday thing for them to do. But they had stumbled across the powerlifting comp going on. Yeah. And he was saying, like the old man was apparently saying, like, that guy he's awesome, bro. Because I was intentionally doing it, bro. Like, after my first attempt on squat, because I had felt, I don't know what it was that day, but I just felt like I was going to kill it. Mean. But after that first squat, I literally jumped off the bar, walked to the crowd, looked up at everyone, and I was like, "Are you not entertained?" Because the theme was Rome. Yeah. And I was like, and I was like, I'll just keep this rolling. But yeah, like that really kind of humbled me a little bit. I was like, far out. Like, I knew this had happened before, but no one had ever, what do you call it? No one had ever gone up to them to tell me the exact story that kid had been inspired.
Yeah.
So that was super humbling and heartwarming, because that kid apparently wanted to sign up for like the nearest powerlifting gym he could go to.
Wow.
So yeah, you never know. Like, and like coming from someone like me, that was super heartwarming. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, bro, I didn't even think that I could even make a nationals powerlifting squad, or let alone inspire another person. So that was insane. Like, that was a really cool experience. That was probably my biggest takeaway from that day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just being able just to, make that kid's day.
Make that kid's day, bro.
Yeah.
And then, like, it made me realize that I looked at my Instagram and I was like, damn, I think there's a lot of similar people in here. And I was like, and it made me really, like, kind of take a step back and be like, damn, God is good. Like, I would have never expected this.
With that, just with that realization, how you said, oh, like, there are many people on Instagram who, could take away from like the things that you produce, which kind of I wanted to go in depth with, the whole, content creation that you're pursuing at the moment, whether it's to inspire, whether it's to, put your own journey out there, have that sense of background, etc. With content these days, there's a lot of backlash, or there's a lot of, negatives behind it, just because people don't understand where it can actually lead.
Yeah.
And it's also just due to the person, people follow you because it's you.
Yeah.
And they want to know more about you.
Yeah.
With content in general, like, did you, during that time when you were powerlifting or bodybuilding, was it like a sense for you to drive towards content creation, or was it just like, oh, I'm just uploading it for the...
Bro, I was just uploading my journey. I was just documenting what I did.
Yeah.
Now it's a whole different aim, because, I compete, but like, I don't think I take it as seriously as I did. Like the jiu-jitsu comp and stuff, like I said, and maybe that's just me thinking it, because maybe I am taking it more serious. It's just that I've got a different outlook on it now. Because now it's all about learning for me.
Yeah.
Whereas before it was all about being the best, trying to be the best. But now I don't really care. If I'm ever the best, it would have never been my intent right now at what I do. So my aim for content creation with, kind of health and fitness, is that I used to think that general health and fitness, you had to do what competitors do. That's what got me into a competitive mindset. But now that I can take a step back and look at it and be like, bro, people can do half of this and be happy.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, people can do like half and maybe even less, make progress and be happy. So that's kind of the aim I have towards, like, because if you've done the extreme of it, you kind of know how to do the less extreme of it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I do really want to, I guess, help people put their expectations a bit higher than they should be.
Yeah.
Like, one guy said, like, oh, and like, he's not even like fat. Like, he's a bit chunky. And he was like, hey bro, do you reckon like getting abs in about 2 years? I was like, bro, if you really wanted to, and you just did like a lifestyle approach, you could get there in like 1. Wow. And if you went into competitor's approach, maybe like 6 months. I'm talking just specifically that for that person.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, I'm not talking about a general umbrella for like people wanting to lose weight. It was just for that person. But you can see from like him second guessing, can I even do this in 2 years? And I was like, bro, if you could do that in half the time. Like, he already set his mindset lower, his expectations lower than what they should be. So being able to recognize that and being able to be like, hey bro, like it's not that deep. You can do this set of rules, and then have a bit of flexibility and then be able to still feel good, look good, feel good. That's a route you can take. You don't have to do 75 hard. You know what I mean? You don't
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to do an 8-week challenge and you cut out all this and that. Like, while I believe it's essential to have some form of discipline, it doesn't have to be the same form of discipline that a competitor has.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that's what I try and aim towards now. Even though I myself compete, I don't really track my calories or anything anymore. I know what I'm like. I know kind of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like, from January to now, I've lost like 10 kilos. I haven't even tracked much, but I just have like kind of a set amount of rules. Like, 240 grams of protein is what I have to hit. I have to do one form of cardio a day. I have to do 3 strength trainings a week. Can be any day. But see, like, that will take discipline to do. I have to mentally get into the gym. I have to prepare myself to wrestle with sweaty men, you know,
Yeah.
which is usually the last thing you want to do after a hard day's of work.
100%.
But being able to make that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, being able to just like recognize that, oh yeah, I just got to do it. Like, I got to get in and do my workout. Even if I half-ass it, I still got to get in and do it. You know, even if I half-ass my fitness, like my half-ass this, I still got to get in and do it. Like, that's not the mindset I have, because I'm always wanting and I'm always eager, but that's the mindset a lot of people can have.
Yeah.
And still do better than they think they could do.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like it, yeah. Even when you mentioned about, just turning up, like, when you're going there and being prepared to, get into that mental state as well. Like, for some reasons, like, sometimes you don't want to go, and when you do go, you end up enjoying it a lot more, and then you're kind of grateful for the decision you made, whether you half-assed it or not.
Bro, hard.
And it's just like one of those type of situations where you're like, man, like, I'm glad I came.
Bro, handies. And that happened to me like last Thursday, bro. Like, Wednesday night, and I'm not even trying to be funny here, bro. I believe Wednesday night, I think I almost went into shock. Like, because after, I think I did MMA. I did MMA and wrestling, but I had maxed out in the morning with heavy weights. Went to work, and then I went to wrestling. Oh, no, not wrestling. It was MMA and then jiu-jitsu afterwards. And then afterwards, I went outside. I had a talk with the boys, and then I got home. And mind you, like, I'm kind of dieting, so I'm in a bit of a deficit.
Yeah.
And I train about like twice a day. And then, bro, I just got like these cold shivers with me. Like, it was crazy. I almost collapsed. Yeah, like, I had to stay in a blanket for about 2.5 hours before I could actually get up and go take a shower.
Wow.
It was crazy. Like, I went home and I was like, the wind's hitting me a bit too much right now. I feel not that great. And then my partner was like, are you all right? And I was like, can you get me a blanket? Bro, and I just sat in a thing like this for like 2-3 hours before I could go take a shower. And obviously it's not normal, right? But
yeah.
I called in sick the next day, but also my son wasn't really feeling well, but I called in sick the next day, and I pretty much just took that whole day to rest. And that night I was wrestling with Musad.
Mohsen?
Yeah. But I just thought to myself, I'm just so wasted right now. Should I go in and go light or just like miss out on it? And I was like, nah, because if anything, my wrestling needs practice. So maybe I can go in and just try and go light or try and survive the workout. And then the crazy thing is, I went in and they were teaching the one thing I needed to learn, which was how to shoot a takedown.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know how to shoot a takedown. My first comp, I freaking jumped on, like I said, I jumped on his leg. I just hoped for the best. And I picked it up. But I went there and, like, I think I'm ready to try and blast some takedowns. And it was like, bro, if I just didn't show up and try and go light or try and survive the workout, I would have never learned what I needed. Because next week is probably a different lesson. Oh, this week's probably a different lesson.
Yeah, 100%.
But that one lesson is exactly what I needed.
Wow.
To improve my game. And if I didn't go, if I had just, I'll just rest. But, like, even if I wasn't going to go train, I was going to go watch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I didn't even want to leave the bed.
Wow.
But if you just kind of get yourself up and show up, you might just do what you need to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Everything lines in place.
Everything lines in place, bro. Like it's insane, and I was super grateful for it afterwards.
Mm.
Man.
And in terms of like, you know, how everything fits in place and how, you know, when you kind of set certain priorities that you have to pursue, and sometimes you're not feeling that, you know, that sense of urgency, or that feeling, that sense of, what's the word? You're letting your inner thoughts kind of, you know, take over what you actually kind of need, and you kind of listen to your body, where it's good or bad. You know, what's one thing through your journey that you realize, like, hey, let's maybe, for other people out there, for other people out there, like, this is kind of one piece of advice that you would recommend, just to be able to, you know, see every opportunity as a growing step. Like, so out of every, you know, phase that you've had, and even with, you know, you just turning up that whole story within, before you had the cool shivers to going into wrestling itself, that would have taken, you know, like a big mindset shift. And with some people out there, they don't recognize that in terms of like what switches their mindset, or in terms of what they kind of need to go through. What do you think is like a one, or if you do have many, or just the one itself, you know, what's a key piece of information that kind of allows you to be able to be aware of that?
The best piece of information is you got to be really honest with yourself.
Okay.
If you're in a place that you do not want to be in, like let's say you're overweight, let's say you're feeling sad, or you, whatever it is, right? There's a solution, and it's your job whether or not you want to get up and get it. Wow. So, like, let's say, like, I could be feeling like dog crap, bro, but at the end of the day, like, I'm not going to learn anything by feeling like dog crap, right? So it really comes down to being honest with yourself, because if you're in a place that we really do not want to be, and there's something there that you know is going to benefit you, if you don't do it, and a week later you're feeling the same way, whose fault is it?
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's not anyone else's fault. It's not the fault that bad food is cheaper than good food. There's no fault of that gym membership's too expensive. Like, a lot of people I know that, like, oh, when I can afford a gym or anything. I'm like, bro, during lockdown, I lost the most weight because I got outside and ran every day, because I wasn't happy with where I was. Like, the last thing I wanted to do was run, because I wasn't good at it. But I got pretty good at it, and I ended up running a half marathon after that. But it's literally, it comes down to just being honest with yourself. Because if you fool yourself that you're happy with where you are, then you're not going to do anything. But if you really deeply accept, I don't want to be this way, I need to make a change, there's only one way to do it, then you really will motivate yourself. And if not motivate yourself, beat yourself up for not doing what you could have done.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it really comes down to just being honest with yourself. Because if you know that there's something to learn, or there's something to do, or anything, like anything to get up and do, and you're not doing it, whose fault is that? Because it ain't anyone else's.
Yeah, it'll be your own.
It'll be your own. You know? So you gotta ask yourself, why am I the way I am? If you're not in a happy place, mentally, spiritually, physically, whatever it may be. Most of the time it's physically, in my experience. But yeah, if you're not where you want to be, and there's so many routes that you can take, you don't even want to try and start one. Like, it's not anyone else's fault. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people will fall on anxiety. A lot of people will fall on like nervousness to start something, which I get. It's really, 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 really hard to even pick yourself up and go and try something. But like I said, if you have a problem and there's a solution, it's only up to one person to solve that problem.
Yeah, which is you.
Exactly.
Do you think it also comes from a lack of purpose?
Yeah, it does. It does. Because I think when people start to see progress, it becomes their purpose.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is, it's awesome to see. But it's funny because, like, it's not until you see progress that you're like, fuck. I'm doing this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's what's in between starting and progress. That in between period is really hard.
Wow.
It's really hard because when I first started fasting, I lost 3 kilos in 1 week. So I saw the progress and I kept with it. But if I hadn't seen nothing, I don't know how I would have reacted.
Wow.
I don't know if I would have kept pushing. I don't know if I would have reached out for help. But I was just really lucky that I stayed really strong in that 1 week and lost that, because that got everything going. I was so happy about it. I texted all my siblings. They're like, whoa, congrats. And I was like, okay, well, I got to keep this going now. So
What is that like? You know, when you kind of, in a way, it's like a sense of you made it.
yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much. And once you get that feeling, you don't want to stop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't want to stop, because once you know what that feeling feels like, you don't want to stop feeling that feeling that you've kind of achieved something. So, yeah. My first experience with losing that weight in the first week kind of set the tone for everything else.
Wow.
Yeah. So that feeling was just, I can still remember that feeling.
Wow.
You know, like, because there was so many times that I had tried and stopped and tried and stopped and tried and stopped, and then that 1 week I had made more progress than I did any other time. It was, yeah.
It's all about just stacking those wins.
It's just about stacking those wins, bro. Like, even David Goggins talks about the cookie jar.
Oh, mean.
You heard of
No,
that?
I've never heard of that. Explain, bro.
So, I think it was when he was running a 100-mile race, and he was in the last 2 laps with 2 broken shin bones, shit his pants, like he was just dying. And yeah, 2 more out of 5 laps in total. That 100-mile race, he was saying he started feeling sorry for himself. You know, he might not finish, and then he started looking back at what he had done.
Wow.
And he calls it the cookie jar, because every time he needs a little bit of motivation, he reaches back in that cookie jar. What have I done before? Reach into it. That's right, I did that.
Gives him the motivation.
To keep going. Because if you just stack the wins, there's going to be times that are going to be hard, and you're going to be like, wait, I've done something harder than this. This is easy. It shifts you right away. You know what I mean?
And in terms of that, I want to bring up a question. So, you know, when you're stacking wins, and as you mentioned that cookie jar method, like sometimes when you're feeling sorry for yourself, you dip into the cookie jar, you pick up that, and you just think about it and be like, okay, sweet. You know, I've had things that were a lot harder than what you've experienced.
Yeah.
Sometimes like a good win, like for me, for example, a win for me is like a check, like a checkbox tick.
Yep.
And sometimes that win, let's say if I've like stacked multiple wins within it, and I try and implement that cookie jar method, sometimes that win is what is it? Like it's just like oh, I could have did better. Like you doubt every win that you have. Would you say that's like an insecure problem, or is it like a emotion? Because like let's say like a big scenario will probably be, not really an insecure problem actually. Probably that's not the word that I probably want to use. It's like you're not satisfied with anything. Like, because you're always just trying to, you know, win and win and win, or like you're always just trying to progress and grow. Progression and growth is kind of like all that stays in your head. So every stepping stone or every block is not like ideally be like, hey, you should be grateful that you've made it this far. But it's just like next.
I think it's important to, I understand what you mean. I think it's important as well to not only recognize that, like, your wins, how do I say this? Like, the win might not be as hard as what you have on your plate now. But one thing that you can think of is, this is probably going to be a bigger cookie in my cookie jar. You know what I mean? So that's why I always say to see the fun side of it. Just because if there's a situation that you think you're not going to make it out of, just imagine how good you'll feel when you do make it out of it. You know what I mean? Like, there was so many times I remember getting home, I was drunk and wasted and probably high off a bunch of other drugs. And like, I could just go sit in my bed and like just think about how far I had come downwards, like how far I had fallen, pretty much.
Yep.
And how close I was to becoming a statistic. But the question I always thought in my head, like every time I laid my head, either drunk or whatever it was that, am I really just going to become another statistic? Am I just going to become like a percent on a graph or something like that? Like, am I just gonna like end up in a like life of crime or something like that? Not being like a hard crime. I wasn't a freaking gangster or anything. It was more like if I got raided, there was a bunch of drugs on me type of thing. Yeah, and like it was that feeling from then to now is just insane. Like to see how far I've come from that. Like that's a cookie jar win, but like I had to make a cookie jar from then to now. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't an easy journey, like, but it was fun.
Yeah.
Like if I look back, it was fun. I had fun throughout the whole way. And there was things that I could have done better, but when I look back on it, I'm like, I could have done better at this and this and this, but it wouldn't have taught me this or that. You know what I mean? So being able to like look at it and see what you could have done better, but you also got to look at it and then think of what you got out of it.
Yeah.
Type of thing. Because yeah, those, like I said, with David's cookie jar concept, he only had that cookie jar once he stacked an amount of wins. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can't have a cookie jar if you don't have any wins. But you can add to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can go out and bake a cookie. And, you know, it might be a freaking big-ass cookie. Like, but, yeah, it's all about perspective, bro.
Yeah.
It's really all about perspective.
It brings it, like, everything comes back to that. Like, I've noticed that during, you know, every journey that we talked about with you, it all came down to a perspective aspect.
Yeah.
Like for example, you know, when I mentioned about the whole family situation with your son, it all comes down perspective and how you see it. You know, you're gonna sacrifice that time for, you know, borrowed time, etc. And in terms of like, you know, perspective alone and how it's kind of shaping, that is probably what I'd say is the main key. Well, discipline is a part of it, but you could say that perspective is like how. Sorry, I'm trying to word it. It's not making sense in my head. I feel like with perspective, it is the key to like a lot of, you know, happiness.
Yeah.
Because the perspective that you have on certain things can either make you happy or can make you mad.
Oh, bro, hundies.
So, with perspective being like the key main part, like I think a lot of people kind of neglect. It's something that really needs to be practiced.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Because, yeah, I mean, it's all about perspective.
Yeah.
Like, you could look about... Like, if you go for a run right now, right? Like, if I had to go drag myself for a 5K run, I can go look at it and be like, I'm just going to get real tired after that. But then I can also look at it and be like, I don't think I can do it, but if I did, I'd feel pretty good about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so being able to have a different perspective of things, I think it also comes from looking and talking to people kind of who've excelled in their fields.
Yep.
You know? I mean, my perspective wasn't just born.
Yeah.
It was learned. You know, I watched a lot of top athletes and like their vlogs and stuff, how they talk about their preps, how they get through preps. Because the thing is, when you get into a prep or something, and I'm sure you've done this with jiu-jitsu, you look up other people who are doing the same thing. You look up what you did in your first comp, what's the mindset you should, and then you also look up at like the greats. You know, what are they doing? And honestly doing. I don't. Every time I look at someone and they're like, I train 8 hours a day, and I kind of turn away from that. And I always look at someone who was like, okay, well, you know, very vulnerable about what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, that borrowed time thing I actually got from I forgot who it was, but he's a bodybuilder. I think it must have been Breon. He was the classic physique champion before Chris Bumstead.
Oh, yep.
So yeah, he was saying like, you know, it's borrowed time. This flipped the switch in my head. I'm like, oh shit, it is. Because like, when he said that, I had to really take a look at myself and be like, what am I not doing with my family?
Wow.
Because when he said that, it kind of took things in perspective. So actually going out of your way to kind of look at what the people who are in your fields are doing, and they're doing right and wrong, and having the patience to even kind of research them, that plays a big part. Because if you're trying to learn a certain field, like let's say you're jiu-jitsu, and you're not trying to look up the top guys, like you're not really going to get anywhere. Because you only learn kind of from people around you or the top guys, because the people around you will teach you kind of who you are, where you are right now. But the people at the top teach you how many levels there are, what they had to do to get there. Because a lot of them, and one thing is the most hilarious, a lot of them are just normal people that cracked it. Khalil Roundtree, musician, and he was overweight. Now he's the only person that kind of gave Pereira his hardest fights.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's all about like being able to recognize the top. That's why when I talk to a lot of guys, and then they're like, oh, like a lot of fighters, and then they don't watch UFC or they don't watch like actual fighting. I'm like, then where are you drawing your inspiration from? Because like, I respect trying to make it on your own, but being able to, you know, get people's perspective on things and then have that help shape your own perspective.
100%.
You know, that helps out a lot. Yeah, I would say.
Plays a big part.
Plays a big part.
Yeah.
Plays a big part. Because if you don't get different people's perspective, you're not gonna be able to see outside your own lens.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that perspective from outside your own lens is like the key.
Key. Because like the thing is, bro, like when you do jiu-jitsu, right?
Yep.
You see through things, like you see things through your own lens, what you're doing in the moment. But it's not until you see a recording of yourself, which is a perspective from someone else in the crowd, that you really learn what you did and didn't do.
Wow. Yeah, that's why I've noticed like it brings like a sense of why people always watch back their footage just to see like, okay, like I could improve in this, I could improve in that, because what they see is not, or what they see at the moment they think is what's right. But then in some sense it could be like, oh, what's right to you could be your downfall.
Exactly. And I know a lot of people that think they're like here, and then they get an opinion and they get hurt about it.
Yeah.
But it's like, bro, you could be so much better at a game if you just accepted that. Even if it was invalid. If you just had the humility to accept it, maybe he's right. Maybe he's wrong. Like maybe he's pissed wrong. But maybe he's right.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like there was so many things. Like when I look back at my footage, I was like, man, I had so many missed opportunities to get the takedown. There's so many missed opportunities to sweep and to get the back. But if I remember it from my lens, I thought I was doing everything perfectly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because my game plan was only to stay off my back, get a single leg, and get a side control. In my head, I did everything perfectly.
Wow.
From the lens over there, I didn't block the arm. I couldn't get to the back.
Didn't circle anything.
Yeah. I didn't go for the single leg when there was so many missed opportunities. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
Like in my perspective, what I was looking at and the game plan that I had, I already checked everything off.
Wow.
But there were so many things that I left in the tank. But it wasn't until I looked back on it from my partner's camera, so someone else's perspective, that I really kind of, oh shit, that's what I'm doing wrong.
Plus, like also, you know, when you look at the things that you did right and also the things that you did wrong through that certain perspective, even when like you give it to like a coach, like footage, like coaches and everything, they definitely idolize it, or well, not idolize, sorry. They definitely break it down in a different way that you would have seen that as well. Like you could go through different people. Like I've noticed sometimes when like I upload footage to some of like the coaches, they'll be like, "Oh, how did your comp go?" And I was like, "Oh, like I could have did this better, I could have did that better." And then they watch it and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, also this and that." You give it to another person, they'll be like, "Oh, you also, you know, this and that."
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like you start to break it fully down. You're just like, "Oh, actually, I did not see that," but because they said it,
exactly.
You know, you
exactly. And how much more does that help your game?
Helps me, bro. Like definitely helps me. Now, you know, now we focus on leg locks.
Yeah, bro. That's exactly it. And like that's the thing. Like, And that's another thing, bro. Like you know how you said you focus on leg locks because that's probably what you'd be more advantageous with, right?
Yeah.
I'd focus on wrestling because that'd be more advantageous for me. I reckon if I really nailed it down. But see, you couldn't recognize what your specialization or my specialization would be if you didn't actually break it down and look at it. You know what I mean? So the fact that you can even come here and say, now we focus on leg locks, it takes a lot of perspective and humility to be able to ask around and be able to kind of open your game up to people so that they can see it for what it is.
Yeah.
And then being able to like humble yourself to accept that.
Yeah.
It takes a big person, bro. Like it's what's lacking. I see it a lot because especially, I don't know what it is, but especially new people, they would think they did mean, point something out that they could have done better, and then they just shut off.
Wow.
But see, like, you can understand from the perspective because they're new, bro.
Yeah.
You know, they think they might be the next Gordon Ryan. But, like, me and you know that's going to come out of him in the next couple of months.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, like, but it just takes humbling down, like I said before. He needs to be humbled in order to grow. Because if he doesn't, he's just going to keep making the same damn mistakes again. You know what I mean? So it takes a massive, like a big person to be able to
see that.
To see that. And to receive, even if it's criticism.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah.
It has, what is it? Like talking about like new guys, like, to be honest, I just wanted to, the new guys who kind of entered the gym, when there's like, you know how like, so this one's just like an off-topic question, to be honest.
Yeah.
So with like a lot of new guys who entered the gym, right? They all have different perspectives. They all have different mindsets when entering. So for example, when I first entered, it was when I went to go do, you know, jump on the mats, you know, first class, first roll, first week. It was all based off fear.
Yeah.
So it's like I'd go in and I'd get scared to partner up with certain people. You know, if my cousin went, I'll go partner with them. So it was that leech effect. So then that was kind of me when I get in. So I never really had that spazzy mentality-ish, you know, how people are just spazzing around, going hard. And you have different people who walk in and they're just like, I'm the man. Yeah. And then like you see that, and then from like a perspective that, let's say, because I've been in the journey for quite a bit, you know. So when I see that and I look at other people who do that, I'm just like, wow, like, was I like this? And you kind of like have a like take back in terms of like, this is kind of where everything starts. And in terms of like having that type of mindset, that's kind of when you realize that, wow, you've got in within the sport because you start to have the mentality of a martial artist. Yeah, bro. Which is, you know,
being able to look outside of things for what they are. Yeah, I understand what you mean, bro.
And I've noticed that a lot of people who enter martial arts, they all think like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Compared to every other sport that is out there, you know, it plays a part.
Because I think as well, just like I said about powerlifting, that everyone has a misconception about martial artists. Like everyone thinks the game is violence, which for some part of it and for some people it is. Whereas for me it's a game. Yeah. You know, I'm literally just trying to pick you apart for the lols. You know what I mean? That's it. There's no ill will behind it. I'm not trying to freaking choke you out. Yeah. I'm not trying to think. I'm just trying to pick you apart so that I can try and get you in a position where you can't get out of. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's literally just a game. Whereas a lot of people go into martial arts thinking, I'm going to smash some cunt. You know what I mean? Yeah. So being able to switch that mindset is what I think keeps people in the gym.
Beautiful. Yeah. Beautifully said.
Because like if they don't switch it, they're just gonna get smashed. Yeah. And like a lot of people go in there to improve their street fight game. And then I don't see them coming back for like ages. Like, you know what I mean? I remember there was one guy who got smoked, bro. We were doing when we first met.
Oh, yep.
Did you see that guy get clipped?
Was it during MMA?
No, it was during open mats when they were away from Gamma. Oh. That first time I met you at open mats.
On a Sunday?
I think it was on a Sunday. No, it was on Thursday.
Sorry. Yeah, it was a day when the gym was closed.
And I was like, there's no class?
There's no class.
Yeah, and you were like, there's open mats. Yeah, one of these guys got clipped. Like, real bad, bro. Like, real bad.
Oh, Yes. I don't know who the guy was, but
yeah.
He was there, and then I've never seen him ever since.
Yeah.
Wow.
But he got clipped by someone who was half his size. Do you remember? Did you see who clipped him?
I think it was, I know who.
Yeah.
I know who Valio
Like
is.
he was, I'm not gonna say the names, but like this guy got clipped by someone who was half his size, bro.
Yeah.
And it was bad clipping. Like it was, like everyone heard it. He went to sit down, and then he was like, "Fuck, I think that might have been the hardest punch I've ever, I've ever felt." And we were like, well, I tried to make it better by saying like, are you planning on stepping in the cage? Because then I was gonna follow it up with, better get used to it. And he's gonna step in the cage, and he goes, "Oh, nah." And then I was like, "Oh, then why are you here?" And he goes, "Just got on a fight in New Year's, bro, and I just wanted to brush up my thing a little bit." And I was like,
okay,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, wrong mentality coming in.
Wrong mentality coming in. That's why I don't think he's come back.
Wow.
Because to be honest, even if I knew how to fight, I'd probably run from a fight.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, because you
I'll
know
do
the
the
risks.
same.
You know the risks involved. You might die.
Yeah.
And like
the guy might bring out a knife.
Yeah, bro. Exactly. You don't know. Like you don't know. And once you know violence, it's real easy to try and keep away from it outside of the gym. You know what I mean? You don't want to choose it because you know the path that it could lead down and it could change your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
plus in a way it's like as well, like because you do the martial arts and you're confident in your skill as well, or even if you're confident in the little skill that you have.
Yeah.
Like in my head, like I know, like I wouldn't be that guy to, start the trouble or anything like that. But in my head I was like I know I can give you a hiding.
Yeah, bro.
And but will I do it? Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
And even if he did try and step you out, you'd probably try and diffuse the situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It feels like it's the best way to approach it.
Exactly. And that's what martial arts is. The best way to approach something.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a whole different mentality than a lot of people think. They try and think of it like coming in, and if you go in with it, I'm telling you right now, you'll get clipped. You know what I mean? Because I think, I got humbled once too. And that was before I started bodybuilding. I remember I forgot what his name was. Not that I would mention it, but he was some bloke from CKB back when Adesanya was the only guy. And he'd come from CKB, and I think he'd just moved south. And I was going spazzy, for sparring.
Yeah.
Bro, first time I ever been hit behind my ear, and my legs just turned off. Wow. After that, I didn't hard spar anymore.
Sheesh.
Yeah. So, like I said, it takes a bit of humbling.
Yeah,
you know how many levels there are. I thought I was gonna be like this prospect, bro. I thought I was mean, and I got clipped. Wow. You know what I mean? The same thing that happened to that guy. But the thing is, the guy was my size. Oh, well, he's bigger than me. But the other guy was half the other guy's size.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't think it's a game of violence, bro. It's more just a game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're picking apart
everything. You know what I mean? Not trying to be sad, but how many people you seen that forget his name. Remember his name, Bilal.
Oh, the
How many guys you seen him implicate violence on?
What, in the gym?
No, like in UFC.
Oof.
Not much, right? It's just wrestling him around.
Yeah.
How can a guy be a champion with no violence? You know what I mean? It's not a game of violence. It's just a game.
Just a game. Yeah, nice.
He just stands around, unanimous decision. Same with Marab.
Yeah.
Not really great with their striking.
But they're wrestling.
They're just wrestling, just wrestle you around, bro. And that's a
cook you out in a way.
Cook you out, and they won the fight by that. Imagine winning a fight with no violence, just wrestling them around. Yeah.
That to be honest, to a lot of people, it'd be a shock because it'd be you became a champ without throwing a single punch or stuff like that.
And a lot of these guys, well, I say a lot because there's a fair few that do something like this, but a lot of the guys they're just, honestly, fighters are the nicest people I've ever met.
I can say that too.
Yeah, bro, 100%. Fighters are the only people that we deal with at the gym that will come with you with big smiles. They'll be really respectful about everything. If you say, hey, you can't do that, they'll say, oh, sorry, bro. My bad. You go do that to a bodybuilder. Sorry, bro, can't slamming weights like that. can you lift this much weight? You know what I mean? Whereas like fighters, I remember I was like, still this one fighter stopped slamming his weights just because of the bars damaging a bit. Hey bro, just gotta let you know, you can't slam the weights. The knurling, it wears out. Bro, so sorry about that, brother. I didn't even know. That was my bad. I was like, yeah, no, that's all good. It's out. We should have put rubber matting, but just right for now we don't. So just saying is, so sorry, brother. Sorry, I won't do it again. I'll make sure to just place it down next time. Never had a problem with him again.
Wow.
But there's so many other people that I've had continuous problems with.
Yeah.
And they you can tell they probably don't know how to fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just that, well, the way they kind of like approach things is like, oh, this guy's just only talking to me because he's negative.
Yeah.
Like it's like that a thing. But usually I kind of see that as an insecurity problem.
Yeah.
Because usually people who, well, I think that people who bring out the negativity in life is people who go through a lot of insecurities within their own journeys. So, like usually when you hear people, slander online, when they do slander online or slander during trainings and all that stuff, it's just that they're unhappy with themselves.
Yeah, 100%. It's, yeah. Because I mean, there are some people, but once you know how to pick apart someone, there's really no reason to be insecure. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of like, why would I do that when I can just talk to you?
Wow.
Yeah.
And just de-escalate the situation
just
that way.
De-escalate the situation. It's not worth it. I got training tonight. Last thing I want to do.
There's also, like, in terms of what we have for today as well, there's also a couple of things I did want to dab on. But I definitely kind of want to, I feel like we've impacted a lot just right there as well, how we kind of lay things out. I do have a little quick fire round. This one is just I have a couple questions that I'll just ask you, and it's just one word answers. So whatever comes to your head is like, we'll go through. But I call it a quick fire round. Usually this one's different for me because it's 5 on, 5 off. So then there's like a 5 I already have here, and then there's 5 that I have to try and pick up from off the cuff. But then I try to like train myself to see how far I was actively listening throughout this whole thing. So
that's sick.
So that other 5 was like, okay, sweet, let's test my retention.
Yeah. Okay.
So in terms of our questions, so they just like whatever comes to mind first. One word answers on how you go, and just kind of see how you go from there. Favorite lift?
Bench.
What is one anime everyone needs to watch?
Oh, damn, that's crazy. So just quick fire right now?
Or even if there's one, if you want a quick fire, it should be like this.
Damn. Hunter x Hunter and Solo Leveling.
Ooh.
Or if you're down on yourself. If you're down on yourself, My Hero Academia Episode 1, goated. If you do not believe in yourself, go watch My Hero Academia Episode 1. That had me in tears, not even lying. That was back then. Yeah.
What is one key information you learned from an anime that you really loved?
The most, like I said, which was My Hero, which follows that. Have you ever watched it?
I know of My Hero. I think I stopped when All Might lost his power.
Okay, so yeah, like I think I saw myself in Deku a little bit.
Yeah.
Just because you see this like kid that, no one kind of believes in. He's the only one without powers in a world full of powers, which you can kind of relate to. Like, even though we don't have powers in the world, there's always going to be a more athletic kid, a more smart kid, and more that kid. But then to have someone at the top tell him, you can be a hero. It's important to know that when you're at the top, you have to give back. Yeah. So yeah, that'd be my biggest lesson, and to be able to inspire. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that one. What is your go-to meal after a heavy training session?
Burger and fries.
Sheesh.
Straight off the cup. Yeah. Freaking whatever it is. Any burger. Any burger and fries, bro.
From your bodybuilding comps, what is one of your most favorite poses? Pose?
I would say just front double bicep is probably like my best pose. And it's my most favorite pose. It's also the most iconic. You know what I mean? What does everyone do when they say bodybuilding?
Yeah.
Yeah. So front double bicep.
The biggest lesson martial arts has taught you so far?
Oof. Take a step back and look at everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you miss most about Australia?
The economy. Being able, bro. I remember I came here and I was making the same at my one job that I had, like, because I came here with one job and I was making the same as I did at one job in Australia when and I was spending the same amount of, like, I was buying the same things, but then at the end of the week I would have nothing left. Because like, let's say I had $700, I was getting paid $700 in Australia as for one of the jobs, and I got paid $700 here for the week, and like I would go and spend money. Like Australia, I'd go get like a meal prep or like, because you can get frozen meals. Like that's the crazy thing about
in Australia.
In Australia, you can get those frozen meals, and they're cheap, bro. Like $8, like $7-8, and that's lunch. Whereas you get the same thing here, bro. And then I ran out of money. I was like, this doesn't make sense. And then I'd look at it, freaking $15. I was like, what the
expensive?
Yeah, bro. Because like in Australia, I kind of got used to not being able to look at the price tag because I knew I'd have enough already.
Yep.
Nah, bro. Here, that was the biggest thing. The economy, like
wow.
that's the biggest thing I miss. Being able and job availability. Because in Australia, you can get multiple jobs.
There's a lot of opportunity on those ways.
A lot of opportunities. There's a lot of cash in hand jobs. There's a lot of jobs that you could just go into with no experience and make decent coin. Yeah, that's the biggest thing I miss. Being able to have those opportunities. It forces you to kind of do a bit better here as well. Yeah.
If you had to sum up your journey in one word or in one message, what would it be?
One message.
Yeah, or one word or one message, up to you. Whatever you can choose.
You know that you know that scene in Vinland Saga, I have no enemies?
When he was getting sliced?
Nah, like when they were saying, oh, those guys are like, it was after that.
Yeah.
And after he kind of came into his faith and he was like, I have no enemies. Like they were like, the enemies coming, like, I have no enemies.
Wow.
Yeah. Because like along the way you just think that like, you know, things are like that or things are like this, and then you get to like where you are in your point of fitness, like right now, and it's kind of like, it's not that deep, bro. Like it's really not that deep. It's just about having fun. So being, I would say bliss. Yeah, bliss is the one journey. The one word to describe my journey. It's been bliss.
Love that. What was that? 9? That's 90.
I think so. I wasn't counting.
Sorry, I was there because I actually fired heaps of them from the brain, so I forgot to read off the questions I had here. If this is 9, and this will probably be 10, what is one question you would ask the next host, or the next guest, sorry. What is one question that you would want to ask the next guest?
Oof.
And you won't know who it is.
Oh, okay. One question is, how do you inspire others?
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be honest, bro, like, fuck. In terms of, like, you know, how we went through your whole life journey, well, bits and pieces of each journey and how it all went, the lessons that was learned from the perspectives that you kind of gained in life. I'm really thankful about the whole insight that you've given, bro.
I appreciate that, bro.
I would definitely mention I wanted to dabble into more, but I like to like leave cliffhangers, and that's, you know, for the whole sake of like bringing back for another episode, or like when time is kind of due.
Yeah, bro. I appreciate this opportunity, man.
But
it's a lot.
I really do thank you for all your time and everything as well. Sorry about the whole technical difficulties from all of this, bro.
This is mean.
This is probably the main thing, because, you know, it's all about the message itself. So as long as this was recording straight, like that's how it goes. But definitely for the next time, I definitely love to have you back on just to talk more in depth. I want to get more by then, because you would have a lot of side quests underneath your belt. So it would be more, you know, the jits. I want to dabble more into anime as well. Like I had a couple of anime questions in, and I was like, but we went down a route where I think it's more, at this time, or at this moment in time, it's a bit more ideal just to have people understand the perspectives that are out there. 100. And then, you know, have a little fun later on.
Yeah, bro. Hard.
But yeah, I just want to appreciate your time, bro.
Bro, thanks for having me on, bro.
Other than that, man, where can people find you?
IG, Mose.Manu_. That's about it. But yeah, till next time.
All right. Till next time.